Government has recently made the down payment to secure the COVID-19 vaccine for 10% of the population. A sum of 1.8 billion rands was allocated by the Solidarity Fund. Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize says the rollout of the vaccine will be done in 3 phases, beginning with the most vulnerable in the population. Dr. Mkhize further revealed that he has signed amendments of regulations to allow for vaccines and other therapeutics to be part of the prescribed minimum medical aid benefits. Now, he also said government expects the delivery of a vaccine by the beginning of the second quarter. Joining us now to assess a government's vaccine delivery strategy is Kaz Kuvadia of Business Unity South Africa. Mr. Kuvadia, thank you so much for your time. Now, your take on Health Minister Zweli Mkhize's briefing yesterday. Talk to us about the feasibility from a financial perspective when rolling out the vaccine to over 67% of the population.
Thanks for having me. So I think that firstly, the first point we'd like to make is that the rolling out of the vaccine, the acquisition of the vaccine, making decisions on who should be vaccinated first, which parts of the population should be vaccinated first, all of that needs to be led by government. This is a government responsibility. And it needs to be led by government and led in a coordinated way. So the Minister of Health has led the fight against COVID, is leading the vaccine strategy. But we also need to see, for instance, the Minister of Finance, we need to understand exactly what government's ability is to actually pay for the vaccines, to what extent they can pay. And then business can play some sort of a supportive role in possibly helping with logistics, in helping structure some of the procurement properly, and in filling any funding gap if there is a funding gap. But I think government needs to look internally first, including reprioritizing expenditure, all expenditures that can be reprioritized towards the vaccine and fighting COVID. So we'd like to make that point to begin with. And then once government leads, once there's a coordinated strategy from government, business can then talk to government to see how business plays a supportive role.
So in terms of my understanding of what you are saying, the minister did indicate that he has consulted with yourselves, Business Unity South Africa. Are you saying you're satisfied so far that a government is leading in terms of these vaccinations? You are saying that it is feasible that government, from a financial perspective, will be able to vaccinate 67% of the population by the second quarter of this year?
We don't know. This process, the interaction with business has just started. The minister indicated that he's asked Adrian Gore from Discovery to pull together a task group, and Adrian Gore has done that. We will certainly, from a Business Unity South Africa point of view, interact with that task group to see where we can play a supportive role. But I think that there are some issues that need to be addressed. As I've said, we need a coordinated effort by government. So we need to understand what National Treasury is saying about financing. We need to understand what the Minister of Health's position is on how we're going to roll out the vaccines, to whom we're going to roll them out first, over what period of time. Can we get vaccines sooner rather than later for frontline workers? Those sorts of discussions need to take place. And then I think that we need to talk about how we're going to structure all of this, because we need to learn from the PPE experience, where once PPE procurement was devolved to provinces by government, a lot of corruption crept in. And it's a matter of public knowledge that a number of people and businesses as well as government officials are being investigated for PPE corruption. we need to ensure, and certainly business will only come to the party with funding if that is required, if there are appropriate structures in place that bring about transparency, that ensure there's accountability for the funds that are being disbursed, that the procurement process takes place in an accountable and transparent manner, and that the vaccines get to where they need to get to efficiently and effectively. And I think those are the sorts of discussions that we need to have. Business is committed to working with government on this. We've partnered with government in managing the COVID crisis thus far, together with other social partners. We are committed to partner with government in the vaccine phase of this crisis, but we do need to do this in a way that we learn from the PPE lessons, and we structure this in a way that we do not create any conditions where any form of corruption actually creeps into the vaccine procurement and distribution process.
Mr. Kavadia, if I may, perhaps you can help me unpack this statement made by the minister yesterday. He says business has also been engaged, particularly through BUSA, Business Unity South Africa. Therefore, the total financing arrangement will include medical schemes, business and government, with an arrangement made with the Solidarity Fund to provide a platform for the collection of funds. Now, in your opinion, is the Solidarity Fund, given what we know, is it, in your opinion, the right platform for the collection of funds?
Well, the Solidarity Fund has done very well. So long as the Solidarity Fund was responsible for structuring the procurement of PPE in the early stages of COVID, and centralizing the procurement of PPE and distributing that through the Department of Health, things worked very well. There's absolutely no allegations of malfeasance on the part of the Solidarity Fund at all. In fact, the Solidarity Fund has been audited. It's had clear reports. So Solidarity Fund could be a structure through which the vaccine procurement and distribution could be done. But I'm not too sure whether the minister has spoken to the Solidarity Fund. It has its own board, it has its own governance structures, and they need to discuss this, and I'm sure they will. But the Solidarity Fund has managed its role, which was to firstly raise money from both business and government, primarily business, to, in the initial stages, put together the structures to procure PPE, and we had to compete for the PPE internationally to ensure that that was done well. It was only after the procurement was devolved to provinces and taken out of the hands of the Solidarity Fund and the structure it put together that we found problems creeping up. So Solidarity Fund could be a structure, but that's a discussion you need to have with them.
Now, Mr. Kavadia, there are also fears from many quarters about the fact that government will be adopting a one procurement approach or a centralized approach in the vaccine rollout. You've also mentioned the procurement of the PPEs earlier on. How confident or comfortable are you with this approach?
Well, the government, I think the Deputy Director General of the Department of Health made it very clear last night that there will be a centralized procurement process, that the government will be engaging bilaterally with producers of vaccines, and there will be a centralized procurement, which we don't have a problem with in principle. I think that this is a major national effort that's needed. We need vaccines in significant quantities. And that's why it's absolutely necessary to ensure that we have structures in place that all social partners have confidence in, structures that on a consistent basis report to the public, are transparent, are accountable, and we are able to see every step of the way that procurement is being done efficiently, it's been done with accountability, that vaccines are distributed to places where they need to be distributed, And so we need to put together a structure that's transparent, that's accountable, that consistently briefs the public on exactly where this process is. And it's only on that basis, I think, that all the social partners can work together on this.
Now, Mr. Kovadia, as we wrap our interview, just final question from me, perhaps a point of clarity more than anything. You mentioned that a task team of sorts will be set up with medical aids and that Adrian Gore was approached and he has set that up. How do you envision this process will work with your involvement?
Well, as I said, at Business Unity South Africa, we are not setting up this task team. The minister approached, as he said last night, Adrian Gore, Sandile Zungu, and a couple others to establish the task group. We will obviously interact with the task group, and we will, as Business Unity South Africa, play whatever role we believe we should be playing under the guidance of this task group. We haven't, as I said, Adrian and others have been asked to set it up. We will discuss this with them. We will see what role organized business is expected to play. But I think we must be absolutely clear, as Business Unity South Africa, we would play whatever supportive role we can because we believe this is important. People's lives are at stake. But we would only play that role on the basis of proper structures of accountability, total transparency, and ensuring that the viruses are procured properly and they get to where they need to get to timeously and efficiently. We will not, at Business Unity South Africa, align ourselves to any process that does not actually have those critical issues in place, because we certainly don't want to be party to any process that does not learn from what happened during the PPE procurement.
Cas Kovadia, thank you so much. Cas Kovadia there from Business Unity South Africa. Thank you so much for your time.